I don't remember the exact moment I said yes. Maybe it was at the bar, when the lights were too bright and my thoughts were too slow. Maybe it was outside, when the cold air hit my face and made everything spin. Or maybe I never said yes at all. Maybe I just didn't say no clearly enough. Because sometimes silence is mistaken for permission. Sometimes weakness looks like trust. And sometimes people hear only what they want to hear. But there's one thing I remember clearly. He took me to his apartment, not mine. The elevator hummed softly, that low mechanical sound that filled the silence between us. In the car, soft music played, something smooth, something calm, like a lullaby I didn't ask for. He held my arm gently as if I would fall without him. Maybe I would have. The world was blurry, as if someone had smudged my vision with their fingers. I was drunk, too drunk, and he was sober, completely sober. He knew what he was doing. I didn't. When he opened the door, I smelled coffee and cedar. His place was perfect, clean, quiet, expensive. A place that belonged to a man who liked control. But that night, he decided to control something else too. He helped me sit on the couch, brought me water, and spoke softly, too softly. "You need to rest," he said. His voice was calm, practiced. He led me to his bedroom. I didn't want to go. Every cell in my body screamed no. But my lips wouldn't move. My body wouldn't listen. I lay on top of the covers, shoes still on, purse pressed to my chest like a shield. I don't remember falling asleep. I only remember the helplessness, that feeling of sinking into something I couldn't escape. It wasn't violent. It wasn't loud. But it was wrong. Because he wasn't a stranger. He was my boss. When I opened my eyes, sunlight touched the curtains. For a moment I felt nothing. Then it all came back, and I wished I hadn't remembered at all. My head throbbed. My mouth was dry. My clothes were wrinkled. Across the room, I heard cups clinking. He was making coffee, like it was any other morning. When he saw me awake, he smiled, that same polite office smile I'd seen 100 times before. "Good morning," he said, as if this were normal. "Feeling better?" I nodded, because I didn't know what else to do. "Nothing happened," he said quickly. "You were too drunk. I just let you sleep." His tone was gentle, too gentle, like a man rehearsing kindness. He handed me coffee. My hands trembled as I took it. "I didn't want to leave you alone," he added. "You seemed fragile." Fragile. Like glass. Something he could set anywhere he wanted. "Thank you," I said. The words tasted wrong, heavy and bitter in my mouth. He drove me to work in silence. Outside, the city looked too bright, too alive. Inside me, everything felt dim. Every time I blinked, I saw his room, his bed, his smile. And I kept wondering, at what point did my silence become his permission? When we reached the office building, he parked the car. and turned to me. "We don't need to tell anyone you were with me," he said quietly. "It would only make things complicated." There it was, the unspoken truth, the silent warning. I nodded, again, because what else could I do? Everything at work looked exactly the same ringing phones, the same desks, the same people laughing about their weekends. But to me, nothing was the same anymore. I felt like someone had wrapped me in invisible glass. I could see everything, hear everything, but I couldn't feel anything. I didn't belong there anymore. When he walked past my desk, he smiled again. That same calm smile I used to think was kind. "You okay?" he asked. That same voice, gentle, too gentle. "Yes," I lied. But inside me, something cracked, just a little. For days, I avoided him. I took longer routes through the office, kept my eyes on my computer, left meetings early. But somehow, he always found a way to remind me he was still there. A hand on my shoulder that lingered too long. A whisper too close to my ear. A message that said, "You can always talk to me." I didn't want to talk. I wanted to forget. But forgetting isn't easy when the person you want to erase is the one who holds power over you. At night, I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything. The bar, the car, his words, my silence. And every night the same questions echoed inside me. What really happened that night? Did I let it happen? Or did he make it happen? And why does it still hurt to not know the answer? Was it my fault? Should I have been more careful? Should I have said no more clearly? Should I have never drunk so much? I blamed myself for being vulnerable, for trusting him, for being weak, for letting myself end up in a place I never wanted to be. But deep down, another voice whispered, "You were not responsible for his choices." Still, guilt is a heavy thing. It settles in your chest like a stone, and it tells you lies, until those lies start to sound like truth. And the worst lie of all was this: nobody will believe you. You'll lose your job. It wasn't bad enough to talk about. So I stayed silent, because silence felt safer than breaking. One evening I was the last person in the office. The lights were dim, the air quiet. Too quiet. Then I heard footsteps. He walked in, a folder in his hand, his tie loosened, his tone casual. I noticed you've been distant, he said softly. Did I do something wrong? I froze. My throat tightened. Every word I wanted to say got stuck somewhere deep inside me. Finally, I whispered, I feel uncomfortable about that night. He sighed, sat down on the edge of my desk, so close I could smell his cologne. You misunderstand, he said. I was helping you. You were drunk. I didn't do anything wrong. His voice was calm, too calm. Practiced. You shouldn't have taken me to your apartment, I whispered. And for a second, just a second, something changed in his eyes. Something colder, sharper, like a mask slipping, revealing the truth underneath. He looked as if he wanted to argue, but something in my eyes stopped him. Maybe he finally understood. I wasn't the frightened, drunk girl he had taken advantage of. I was sober now. Painfully, powerfully sober. After that day, he kept his distance. Not completely. He was still my boss, but enough to let me breathe again. Some days, I felt strong. Other days, the memory rose like a ghost, unwanted, painful, and confusing. But I learned something important. Healing doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in 1,000 small moments, slowly, quietly, without applause. The first time I slept without waking up in fear. The first time I walked into the office without feeling sick. The first time I laughed again, without guilt. The first time I looked in the mirror and didn't blame the woman staring back at me. Those were victories. Tiny, invisible victories. And slowly, the shame began to fade. Slowly, the weight in my chest lightened. Slowly, I began to reclaim parts of myself I thought I had lost. Months passed. I applied for another job, one where my boss didn't know the shape of my fear, one where I wasn't afraid to speak, one where I felt respected, not controlled. When I received the acceptance email, I cried again. But this time the tears felt warm, hopeful, freeing. On my last day, he stopped by my desk. So you're leaving, he said quietly. Yes, I replied, my voice steady. He didn't apologize. He didn't acknowledge the harm. He simply nodded. And that told me everything I needed to know about him. I walked out of that building with my box of things, and with something far more important. Myself, my voice, my boundaries, my strength. I had been afraid that one night would define me, but it didn't. I defined myself. Sometimes, surviving something you never should have gone through makes you stronger in ways you don't even understand yet. I'm not the same woman I was before that night. I'm stronger, clearer, braver. I learned that silence can trap you, but truth can set you free. And I chose freedom. Finally, if you to learn English through this story, Please like, share, and subscribe for more emotional stories that help you improve your English and touch your heart.